So I'm going to make a go at day 3. And on day 3 is Oasis by Tomas. He has a brilliant Zentangle CCT. And if you look at the step out, it might be in a row, but on his Instagram page, you can see it as a flower. And right now I'm going to be starting with my background, and I'm using the same watercolors from day 1. So I have this set that was combined with a second set. And I'm going to make a light color background. And I think maybe I'll leave a border this time as well. And I'm just gonna make a bunch of blues. In fact, maybe I will start with a little bit of water first on my paper just to get the watercolor flowing. I kind of just work from the middle and head out with the color. And again, since this is mixed media, I'm going to be adding a lot of different things to this. So I'm not worried about things just being perfectly even. Colors can be splotchy. That's fine. So this is a quicker process by putting the water down and helping it spread. And I'm not using a ruler. I don't care about that. I'm just embracing the wonkiness if it happens. All right, so there we have it. That is the start of our background. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to start with one Oasis on here, and I'm going to do the flower version. So I'm not really worried if it's centered or not. Off-centered is cool too. Maybe I'll purposely do off-center. I'm going to start with a vertical line. And then I'm going to have a diagonal coming through, and then one in the opposite direction. It might be easier to do the diagonal first, to be honest, and then go into the up and down. And then from here, I'm going to turn each of these into what kind of reminds me of a baseball bat. So I'm going to come up on the top of this, and I'm going to the side. I'm going to aura around and then come back down. I'm going to do that on each of these, and I'm going to ink it in. So either with a graphic one, Identity pen, something that's permanent. That's what's important, is a permanent marker, permanent ink with this. In case you're adding anything else that is wet over it, you do not want it to smudge. So I'm gonna do that on the other sections as well. So what do you guys like better? Do you like, when I am working, me keeping the video rolling, or do you prefer pausing and having the videos be shorter? I'm curious what you think. I'm going to add a line. My spacing's pretty off, but no mistakes. I'm going to make a line in between each of these. And then from here, I'm going to, there's a couple different ways you could do this. We could go in and ink this part in now, which I think I'm going to do. I'm going to go up. I have a PN again, and I'm going to give this a little flare at the bottom on both sides, and I'm going to ink that in. So now that we're more involved, let me get closer. You don't need to see my watercolors any longer. And again, you should turn your book. It's much easier. And pause if you need to. I am curious to have some feedback on what viewers prefer. All right, so now we're going to, and I can make some of these a little bit taller. I'm going to come in between each of these sections, and I'm going to curve off the edge, and I'm going to meet down to here. So that line was a little too short, so I just extended it. So this could come up higher. and curve around and then come to here. So this one is going to be much larger. And that's fine. All right, so I'm going to add some aura lines. There's lots of different options that you could do, but I'm going to add some aura lines that have a little skip in them. So that little skip is representing a sparkle. I'm going to come around and they're starting to arch a little bit as I draw them in. These two petals. So I have this great little piece of scrapbook, or actually not scrapbook, it's handmade Japanese paper. At Blick, you can get really large sheets of paper, 18 by 24, I believe is the size. And I just cut off a little section of it. I have a huge sheet on the other side of my studio. But again, I love to tear, and I love these blues. I thought would look really nice. So I'm going to just tear off a piece. And I think I'm going to like that maybe in this area. Just leave it there for a minute, maybe covering my Oasis, which isn't a bad thing. I just don't think I want that. I save everything. This little piece will be something somewhere one day, or maybe today. Who knows? So I'm going to just tear a few more pieces, see what I get here. I love these soft edges. And I think I'm just going to have those three pieces. I quite like them. This paper might actually be thick enough that I can start with a glue stick, and yeah, it feels good. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue stick on the back of this first. And then again, I don't really mind using my hands, but get a paintbrush, use a paintbrush to go in and apply the matte medium if you'd like. Maybe I will I do have this is the Temu paintbrush that I showed you yesterday, really inexpensive. If something was to happen to it, not the end of the world. Shaking up my matte medium, making sure I'm holding the cap down, because without fail, once a week, stuff goes flying all over my studio. All right, so again, usually if I'm just in the middle and I'm doing a bunch of stuff, I just go in and use my finger for this. And boy, I put way too much down. So I'm going to scrape some of this off, and I have paper towel on the side of my table and just wipe some of that on there. A little too much. Okay, this is going to take a little bit to dry. So I'm going to leave this and just set this aside, give myself a little bit of a rest. And my voice I didn't even talk much today besides doing the one recording. I've been resting all day, but my voice is starting to feel a little strained again. All right, so let's let that dry, and I'll be back in a bit. My matte medium has dried, so I'm going to now take some acrylic paints, and I'm going to squeeze a little bit out onto my paint palette that is next to my book. It's disposable. And I'm going to do a little bit of stenciling. These are from Temu too, super cheap, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. I am using a stencil brush, and this green's looking a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add some white to this. So my acrylics are on the thinner side. These are fluid acrylics that I'm using. Sometimes they seep a little bit. Make sure you're holding your stencil down really nice and tight. You usually like to do swirling motions. I like to do some patting first, making sure that I don't have too much paint on my brush. And there we go, that's fine. And I'm going to do this in a few of the other corners as well. So let's take our hair dryer and blow this, or a heating device, to get our paint nice and dry. So now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with my pigment pen and add two more Oasis. It is going to feel a little bumpy as I'm drawing because I have lots of different layers here, but I'm embracing the mess, and things are not going to be as smooth as my typical Zentangling on a traditional tile. But I know that this is mixed media, so you go with the flow with this. So I'm going to go in and add one that's a little bit smaller up here in this right hand corner. I'll use a combination of a PN along with the graphic one for doing some of the inking in. So there are my two other Oasis, and let's just make a little reference on the other side of our sketchbook and put down what Micron pens we've been using so far. And then I'm going to introduce another art medium. So I'm taking out my neocolor water solubles. These are the neocolor 2 in some shades of blue. We'll see if I use all of them. And a white. The white will be for some highlighting later on. And again, you can use these without water or with water. I'm going to start with some of the lighter blues. I like to work lighter to darker. That way I know if I need to add a little bit more, it's easier, but it's very difficult to take away. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading in between where these petals are meeting on each of these Oasis. So now I have a little bit of a darker blue that I can go in with in the same areas, intensifying those shadows a bit. So you can make it as dramatic as you want. You could use a little bit of purple also to make it darker. Purple is an analogous color to blue next to each other on the color wheel, and that will look nice also. So I've decided to go in with a little bit of water to blend this out. Again, not being so particular, just nice loose style to this. But you choose what your style is. What I do is not what you have to do. What you do need to do is be happy. So do something that's bringing you joy. That's my overall theme for the month. So I'm going to go into the background now, a little bit behind the Oasis, and do a little shading back here. This is going to help make my tangle pop out a little bit more. So again, I'm starting with the lighter blue, and I can go back in and intensify and use a darker blue as well. Not sure if you can hear Monet squeaking in the back. Hopefully tomorrow I'll feel a little bit better, be on camera and bring Monet to class with me. She does love being on the camera and seeing herself on the camera. I think that's what it really is. She loves seeing herself on the computer screen. So I'm going in with the paintbrush now, and I'm moving this around to spread out these neocolors. Again, you can leave it more crayon-like, and that will have a different type of texture to it. And then before we do anything else, if we want to add another layer, I do recommend taking the hairdryer and using the hairdryer to blow this off. So I'll go in with the darker neo color now, and then I will again go in with the paintbrush and move it around and blend this out. So I'm going to take the white neo color. I just wiped off the tip of it because it had some old colors on it. Maybe I don't want on this page. And I'm going to go in and add a few little bit of highlights. on here. So if you press a little bit harder, you're going to get a richer color. And I'm not going to add any water to this. I'm going to leave it being dry. So I'm going to take my Posca paint marker and just make sure that's flowing, and I'm going to add some white highlights on my darker inked in black area. Oh, I love that. Just a little bit of dots. Doesn't that make such a different look to the whole piece? So I'm going to take a blue now. I think this might be a little too light. Let's try it out though. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much. Let's take a darker blue. And I'm just going to outline some of these stenciled dots that I have in the background and make a little reference on the other side of my sheet that I also used the Posca markers today. This is the sky blue I'm using right now. And all these little details just add a little something more and also give me some more time to create, and I really enjoy it. So I'm going to take some white now and add a few little highlights. And I'm going to make a little note that I used my neocolors. I like these little swatchy pages too of how I created. And like I said, I'm not going to remember exactly how I did everything. And maybe later on I'll want to use some of this towards a big canvas piece of art or something on a larger piece of watercolor. And I can go back and remember what materials, what mediums that I did use for this. So I really hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you've made this your own, or if you're not creating, that's fine too. I appreciate you being here and watching along with me, and I hope that you come back for day 4, and I'm feeling a little bit better every moment, so hoping to be able to continue to create every day again, but being kind to myself, and if I can't, that's okay too. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you.